The top candidate for the GOP primary in the Michigan gubernatorial race, that is for the governorship, has been raided by the FBI and arrested on charges relating to January 6th. Any way you cut it, we are escalating towards civil war. I know maybe it's cliche or predictable that I'm going to say something like that, but I think these are all just dominoes falling over. Either the federal government is trumping up charges against the contender to go up against Whitmer. He's polling highest, +4 in the GOP primary. Or this man is somebody who seeks to subvert or overthrow or change or overturn the system. One way or another. You have what appears to be a man who is calling for the people to rise up, who is accused of being on camera, encouraging people to storm the Capitol. Someone's heard on camera, they accuse him of saying it's a revolution and calling for more. It seems to be a pretty strong case when you look at what the charging documents say, but innocent until proven guilty, I'm not entirely sure. Or it's the FBI saying we don't want this guy going up against Whitmer. At the same time, I didn't know what the bigger story was. This or Donald Trump this morning publishing several posts on Truth Social where he said that January 6th was not just a protest, but one of the greatest movements to make America great again, going on to claim that there was fraud. Now, some people are saying he was talking about the rally and not what happened at the Capitol. I don't think so. In the greater context of it, he mentions that if they had just brought in the National Guard, January 6th would not have happened. So it's clear that Donald Trump is actually talking about people storming the Capitol. I don't know what else to say. Taking a look at the charging documents, it seems possible, and likely, that this guy, Ryan Kelley is his name, was engaging in the riot at the Capitol. That you see a man on the stairs, he's waving people, telling him, let's go. He's seen in videos claiming he's at Stop the Steal rallies. It all lines up. There's no right answers here. All I know is you've got two factions that are saying no. And there is no, in my opinion, reconciliation. I'm not happy about that. It's actually kind of scary. Seeing this story and reading these charging documents and then looking over to seeing what Trump said about January 6th, it's just like, man, I don't think Trump should be saying this stuff. Tonight we have the January 6th primetime hearings, a big waste of our time. But maybe not. Maybe this was always the intended condition. We have entered the phase in civil war where someone yells, arrest that man. I've warned about that. Not me. I shouldn't say me. Other prominent experts have, and I just read their quotes, where they say that it comes to a point where there will be a prominent political individual and the car pulls up, they jump out and they point and say, arrest that man. Now, specifically, it refers to when two factions are rushing and pointing out each other and saying to the police to arrest each other, and the cops don't know who to arrest. But this is the preliminary. This is the beginning. When you have the highest polling GOP candidate being arrested, you either have sentiment among the American people that they like what he stands for and everything he said, regardless of whether or not the government thinks it's illegal. If this man really did do what he's accused of by the FBI, most people want that. That's what you need to realize. Someone tried killing a Supreme Court justice yesterday. They were charged with attempted murder. The SPLC released a poll showing that the younger generation of Republican and Democrat favor to a third or greater, nearly half, political assassinations. I don't know which direction you think this is going. But I think, I've just been right in a sense. I say in a sense because, I haven't predicted who would do what, when, and how. I've just said the escalation will lead to certain things. Back in 2018, when I said the fighting in the streets would lead to civil war, I had conservatives saying, you're nuts. It's never going to happen. The security state wouldn't allow it. Did anybody expect to see this? Right now, as I speak, I'm looking up and I see a military plane flying right overhead. These are scary days indeed. We live really close to some Air Force bases near D.C. But it's crazy stuff going on with what happened with Kavanaugh yesterday. Someone tried to assassinate him. You know what I want? I want to put on The Simpsons and Family Guy. Order some wings, hang out with my friends, maybe watch some Super Bowl, and argue about wedge issues. That's what I'd prefer. And I think that's what most people would prefer. A slow and gradual fight to move this country in the direction that we think is best. But something happened. We've become untethered, and now we're at this. Let's read the news. Before we get started, head over to timcast.com and become a member to help support our work. If you like the work that we do, becoming a member, it funds all of this. Go to timcast.com in the top right corner. You can see that sign up button. You'll also get access to exclusive segments from the Timcast IRL podcast. Monday through Thursday at 11 p.m. We'll have one of those up tonight at 11 p.m. You're supporting our infrastructure and our journalists. I also want to say that, you're just directly supporting us. Last night, we had a credible threat. We were forced to evacuate the building. I didn't want to do it. I didn't want to bring it up. Most people don't know this, but we've been swatted more times than has been publicly disclosed. Because the only time we do is when it happens in some public manner. Usually when it's a credible threat. I didn't get to bed till like 2 a.m. Wake up at 7 to get back to work. Got about 4 hours and 50 minutes of sleep. And this is the news of the day. The political escalation. It's not over. Internally, we're still dealing with a lot of stuff and the ramifications of this. And now seeing Donald Trump praise January 6th, seeing this man be arrested, I'm just like, how do you de-escalate from here? I don't think you can. I just don't think you can. Leading Michigan GOP gubernatorial candidate Ryan Kelley raided, arrested in connection with January 6th protest. I got to say, man, if these accusations against him are true, then he should be arrested. However, it's multiple misdemeanor charges. It's kind of crazy. I mean, it was a riot. People are fighting. It's bad. I think these people should be charged and arrested. They should face more strict penalties than the people who protest in front of Kavanaugh's house, but those people should be arrested too. But this is just insane. This is why I think we're heading in a dark direction. The people on January 6th, many of whom were on the opposite side of the building where there was no violence, ended up getting very serious charges. Some of them were let in by police, and one man was even acquitted because of it. Yet some of these people are getting like 16 months, or some of them have been sitting in solitary. Meanwhile, the far left, mostly not been charged. I mean, some do. But you see what's happening with these protests in front of Supreme Court justices' homes. And you'd think even after an assassination attempt, they'd stop or the police would do something, and they don't. That's why I'm scared about this. So let's read the story. First, I want to bring you to Real Clear Politics to show you why this is so significant. From Target Insight MIRS polling from May 26th to 27th, Ryan Kelley is up 4 points. He is the top contender to go up against Whitmer in Michigan. He's the top guy. This is the front runner being arrested. Now, according to these charging documents, this man has been at many events speaking about Stop the Steal, speaking about being a patriot, speaking about the Second Amendment. Seems the people of Michigan like him more than the others. Doesn't mean he'd win. It's possible that 19% just means 19%. And if he won the primary because of that, all those other people might vote for Whitmer. Timcast.com reports. The leading Michigan Republican gubernatorial candidate has been arrested by the FBI at home in Allendale. The candidate Ryan Kelley was raided on June 9th on misdemeanor charges related to the protest. Kelley is facing 4 misdemeanor charges: knowingly entering or remaining in a restricted building, disorderly and disruptive conduct, knowingly engaging in any act of physical violence against person or property in a restricted building or grounds, and willfully injuring or committing depredation against property of the U.S. The charging documents do not accuse Kelley of ever entering the building, committing any violence, or engaging in any vandalism. Kelley is accused of gesturing for people to move forward while on the Capitol steps. At approximately 2 p.m., Kelley climbed onto and stood on an architectural feature next to the northwest stairs and indicated by waving his hand to the crowd behind him should move forward, towards the stairs leading to the U.S. Capitol building. At approximately 2:20, Kelley continued to gesture to the crowd. consistently indicating that they should move towards the stairs that led to the entrance of the U.S. Capitol interior spaces, the complaint reads. He is also accused of using his hands to support another rioter who was pulling a metal barricade. So that's where the vandalism comes in. They show some images of a man that they say is Kelley. My personal opinion, it does look like it's him. I don't know for sure. I'm not a forensic specialist. The guy in question is wearing a backwards baseball cap and aviator sunglasses, so who knows? The feds in their charging document show multiple photos, and I would say it's convincing. But we need to hear that adversarial argument. Everyone's innocent until proven guilty, including Antifa and the far left, as I often say. In a February 2nd interview with WWMT News, this is from Scott McFarlane, Kelley speaks about being at the Capitol on January 6th and denies having gone inside the building. Kelley refuses to identify whether he is the individual wearing a dark coat and black baseball cap in photos shown to him by the reporter. These videos show a man who very much does look like Kelley, gesturing and waving, as the feds have described. During an interview in February, he denied entering the building. He's not been charged with entering the building. The complaint says that he was identified by tips and wearing the same outfit to several events. During one event, according to the complaint, Kelley said that people should stand and fight to prevent Democrats from stealing the election. He gave a speech while wearing a name tag and stated that COVID-19 was made so that they can use this propaganda to control your minds so that you think, if you watch the media, that Joe Biden won this election. We're not going to buy it. We're going to stand and fight for America, for Donald Trump. We're not going to let the Democrats steal this election. I can't stand it. I can't stand it. I don't care if I'm on Rumble, YouTube, or otherwise. This rhetoric is just wrong for a variety of reasons. I think it's factually wrong. I think it's morally wrong. Let's address that. I can't stand conspiracy theories. Sometimes, we say Occam's razor. In the absence of evidence, the solution that tends to be the solution that makes the least amount of assumptions tends to be the correct one. COVID-19 may be from a lab leak, but the intention behind it is entirely speculative. First of all, lab leak is a hypothesis that many people believe is correct, notably Jon Stewart, perhaps. Now, we can say that the disaster, the crisis was exploited for political gain. Oh, for sure. But I'm sorry, man. As much as I know about the Epstein stuff and all of this, you're just not going to get me to assert that the intent. It's just not happening. I need evidence. I just need evidence. I've known prominent individuals and I've seen some of this stuff, and really it's not as crazy as people think it is oftentimes. Sometimes it might be. Stealing the election. You know what they did? In 2020, in 2019, they changed the rules. There were pandemic rules that I believe greatly benefited Democrats. I believe that the votes that came in for Biden were real votes. There's the more extreme nonsense narratives about Venezuela and Dominion. That's just off the that's just wrong. It's just way too. Look, I don't know. I'm just saying there's no evidence. These stories are really crazy. There's arguments about watermarked ballots. No evidence of that. No, I think what we saw was rule changes. And there probably was nefarious activity. I mean, you had a guy in Philadelphia, former congressman, he pled guilty to ballot stuffing in 2014 and 2018. But I genuinely believe that people really voted for Joe Biden, because I know so many friends who are anti-establishment, sort of, who are just like, Trump is bad. They believe the media. To address what this guy is saying, the point is, people want that. 19% of people were choosing this guy, Ryan Kelley, when he's publicly saying these things. By all means, you can disagree with me. Some people accuse me of simply saying this because YouTube would ban me if I agreed with Trump, but I just don't think Trump is right. I could say it anywhere. I could say it on my members only show, but I argued with Steve Bannon about why I thought he was wrong. And Bannon thought I made some good points. I said Trump was anti-elected. The enthusiasm against him was greater than the enthusiasm for him. But I digress. I don't want to harp on that stuff. My problem with it, outside of all of that, is, for one, do an investigation. Please do an investigation. I want people to know for sure. And we can all just say this. You might disagree with me. Fine. Here's what I agree with. A thorough investigation and audit. Then we can just say, okay, because I don't think it's true, the claims made by Donald Trump. I think it demoralizes people. I think it makes people not want to go out and vote. And we've clearly seen the fact that Trump won in 2016. that you can do it if you just vote. I don't like the demoralization of people or these ideas, but 19% of people do. The majority of people do. There's a video where they claim that he was yelling, "Come on, let's go. This is it. This is war, baby." Now, I don't know. They claimed it showed him saying that. We're going to have to see the full evidence. I want to show you what Donald Trump's saying. Donald Trump posted, he truthed on Truth Social. The Unselect Committee didn't spend 1 minute studying the reason that people went to Washington, D.C. in massive numbers, far greater than the fake news media is willing to report, or that the Unselects are willing to even mention. Because January 6th was not simply a protest, it represented the greatest movement in the history of our country to make America great again. It was about an election that was rigged and stolen, and a country that's about to go to hell. And look at our country now. Deeply irresponsible. I reject this outright. Donald Trump should not be making these statements. Whatever your opinion. I had people saying to me, yeah, I wish Trump didn't speak this way. He goes on to mention that he believes the election is stolen. As I've already stated a million times, I think Trump would do better if he just didn't say these things. Because I'll put it this way. I am looking forward to interviewing Donald Trump. We're hoping it might happen soon. We've had many of his administration on, and I would love to just ask him, Mr. President, did you watermark ballots in secret? And you know what he's going to say? He's going to say no. And then I'm going to say, okay, so why do you think this is true? I think for the most part, what he's talking about, and I think a lot of people are talking about, is the Time Magazine article, the shadow campaign and all that stuff. But that talks about how there were court battles and rule changes, and that was all before the election. Now, I know some people have concerns about weird things that happened, and the documentary 2000 Mules. But all of this, I just think, look, we want to encourage people to vote. We want to encourage them to participate because we know it's possible. I think this is demoralizing and discouraging, but I do think it'd be fair to have an investigation. Trump says the Unselect Committee has now learned that I, as president, suggested and offered up to 20,000 National Guard or troops to be deployed to D.C. because it felt the crowd was going to be very large. Crazy Nancy Pelosi turned down the offer. She didn't like the way it looked. Likewise, the mayor of D.C. Had they taken up the offer, there would have been no January 6th. The Unselects have ruled Pelosi off limits, no questions. The hearing is another political hoax to counter inflation, etc. You know, I think the hearing they're doing, the TV stuff, yeah, they're desperate. The economy is just in the gutter. But make no mistake. And then Trump tweeted MAGA, make America great again. Donald Trump is outright saying January 6th was the greatest. I mean, that is just shockingly irresponsible, in my opinion. He then goes on to clarify, if the 20,000 troops were deployed, there wouldn't have been a January 6th. He's not talking about the rally at the Ellipse. He's talking about what happened at the Capitol. This is one of the reasons why I didn't want to vote for Trump in 2016. Because it's this. I didn't want to vote for Joe Biden. I still think Trump is better. At this point, I don't know. DeSantis or Trump? I've been back and forth on this one. You know, I said DeSantis because he's got more tact. He's a military man, and he's fought, very well in the culture war to preserve and restore values that we hold true as Americans, regardless of whether you're liberal or conservative. However, I said maybe Donald Trump will come in and fire everybody, and we really need that. However, I don't know if Trump currently is expressing the proper temperament. And I kind of feel like this is the kind of thing that's going to scare people. You know, look, Brad Raffensperger and Brian Kemp, they won in Georgia because moderates are the ones who are leading the charge, or I should say lending their power to conservatives. And moderates are the reason people are signing up and voting Republican. But I'll tell you this, you might not agree with me, but I am one of those moderates, and this freaks me out. Now, I'm not saying it's the end of the world. I'm just saying, man, the divide is getting so crazy. I don't like the fraud narrative because I don't think it's true. I don't like it because I think it convinces people not to vote. At any rate, we can agree on that. Many prominent Trump supporters have said this narrative is making people not want to vote. It's making it easier for the establishment to win. I don't think we should do that. I really don't. I think there are questions to be asked, and I think there should be audits and investigations all the time. I don't like proprietary voting software and machines. But I think people really did vote for Joe Biden. And I've talked to them. I've talked to people who I can't believe voted for the man. Maybe a lot of people like in Trump circle are surrounded only by Trump supporters, so they can't believe they lost. Maybe they're genuine questions and weird things that happened. But does it mean rigged and stolen in this way? No, I don't think so. Unless Trump is specifically referring to rule changes, in which case it'd be great if he clarified that. Here we go. Biden breaks his 118-day streak of no interviews with appearance on Jimmy Kimmel. Jokes about sending Republicans to jail. I'm telling you, man, this rhetoric goes to one place. Donald Trump may have started it. He said to Hillary Clinton, you'd be in jail. Lock her up, lock her up. A lot of people said it was irresponsible. Yeah, I didn't vote for Trump in 2016. I was like, no way. I thought Hillary was going to win too. But I don't like that stuff. Granted, if you break the law, you go to jail. Trump or Hillary. If they find some dirt on Trump and they can prove it, okay. But that means I want to see Hillary Clinton charged over destroying 30,000 emails. This is what Joe Biden joked about. Jimmy Kimmel said, how do you ever make progress if they're not following the rules? And then Biden joked and said, you've got to send him to jail. Kimmel said, go directly to jail like that. Because Biden said something like there are people who don't, or I think Jimmy Kimmel said, you got people who play Monopoly. They don't pass go. They don't play by the rules. What do you do? I got a question. What have Republicans done that wasn't playing by the rules? Serious question. What have Republicans done in the past 4 years or so, in the past year and a half of Biden, that wasn't playing by the rules? Republicans haven't done anything. They've not done anything. They're doing a whole lot of nothing. They're obstructing, but all of it's by the rules. What have Democrats done? They went to a Supreme Court justice's home, several of them actually, illegal to protest. Someone then was arrested for attempting to murder Brett Kavanaugh. The person said they were upset for the exact same reason as the protesters. Then the protesters came back. They're gaslighting. And it's scary, man. Because I deal with, with what we dealt with last night, with this credible threat, with what we dealt with in Nashville. I think we're heading towards a civil war. Joe Biden is Buchanan. He's not uniting this country. He's dividing it further. Donald Trump, it's not like Donald Trump is uniting anybody. He's dividing us further as well. I just want to go back to those days where we sat back, we played World of Warcraft, and the arguments we had politically were wedge issues. Back in the day, nobody thought we'd be in this position. 10, 20 years ago, it was like, oh, those Democrats and their taxes and those Republicans and their, tax cuts for the rich. It was so simple, wasn't it? But here's what happened. I think the corporate press chased its tail, trying to make money and get clicks, and started riling people up further and further. And now we're here. I think that there was a period of very serious fake news on Facebook. This is interesting. I don't disagree with censorship outright. Censorship is a good thing. Now, political censorship in the way we're seeing it is a bad thing. The good censorship is when people post criminal images of children, if you know what I mean. Censors are the people who would come in and remove that. I believe there is warranted censorship when people were creating fake news websites and literally just posting lies. I think those websites should be taken down. But these were egregious. There are websites that would make up fake stories where it's like, like ambulance crashes after BLM protesters, block it in the highway or something. And people would just believe it was real, and it would come from the Liberty Tree 1776 dot website or something. These people were making tons of money off of it. So we banned those. It's a challenge because, you have a right to lie. You shouldn't. So I wonder. The challenge is some things we saw that and we said, okay, we got to get rid of these crazy fake websites because they were really screwing people up. But then what happens is the same people, the censors, then start just raising the bar over and over again. Now, who's the next crazy website? They start accusing all conservatives of being crazy and lying when they're the ones who are actually tending to tell the truth. I don't know if there is a simple answer. Perhaps the reality of life is that we are in a constant state of conflict with no right answer. We are always fighting for something we perceive to be injustice. But back in the day, information traveled slowly. So while we were in these conflicts, we still had the day-to-day of farming and living and getting along. The American Revolution took 20 years. The fighting was years. Now, because of the internet, information moves so quickly, the escalation is instant. So you can't go a day without hearing some kind of crazy escalation. Whereas 200, 300 years ago, it'd take you months. You'd send, imagine this, I mentioned before, they send a letter, the Declaration of Independence to the king. Okay, they draft it. Get on a horse, get it to a boat. When's the boat leaving? Not till tomorrow morning. Okay, gets on the boat. 3 months later, the boat lands in, London, or probably not London. I don't know. What was it? Where did they land? Was it? I don't think it was London, because London's more central. I don't know where they port. And then they would have to go from the shore and bring that. They may have gotten close to it. No, I don't think so. I don't know. I'm not a historian, and I'm not an expert on British geography. But they would then have to make it to the king to give him the information, to give it to Parliament. Then the king would draft a response. So this whole process was like 6 or 7 months. It's crazy, right? Well, the response was probably the immediate dispatching of regulars, but it was like, we sent a letter. In 6 months' time, there may be soldiers here. So they had all the time in the world to get ready for it. Today, it's instant. You tweet it, boom, it's right there in front of the president. I believe this is creating a hyper state of conflict, which is just escalating further and further. And I don't know how we get past it. Here's where we're at. Cheney's January 6th committee spotlight burns her in Wyoming primary. Yeah, Liz Cheney wants to lead these January 6 hearings, which is just so mind-numbingly stupid. And it's going to cost her position in the Republican Party, and she knows it. But come November, she's gone. So they're going to go out with a bang. They're going to do everything they can. And it's to help Democrats. And they argue like we have to do this to save democracy or whatever. I don't know. I don't think it matters. Obviously, I prefer the constitutional republic. I am not a fan of what Trump is saying. I think this one's over the top. I think he's been... I'm just not a fan. I like his policies, but this is one step over the line. So maybe DeSantis. But I don't know, man. I think the bigger concern is that we're heading towards something that people will regret. The January 6th committee hearings are just going to divide this nation even further. And when you see this man gets arrested, Ryan Kelley, you think that's going to be confidence building for the American people? There may be people in Michigan who don't know or care about what's going on with this Politico stuff. All they know is, but that guy I wanted to vote for, he was talking good stuff about gun rights and about, schools or something. And the feds came and arrested him. The federal government arrested the top contender for the Republican Party in Michigan. How many people do you think are going to believe the goal here is for the feds to intervene and stop certain people from being able to run? Robbie Starbuck, they tried taking him off the ballot in Tennessee. He sued and won. These are really scary days indeed. I want to show you this tweet from Ashley Oliver. The media lineup taped up in Canon for the January 6th hearing in summary. Look at this. They have all of these news outlets who are being given access to this hearing. It's absolutely insane. This is totally crazy. Primetime television. Politics is pop culture, and that can only lead to one conclusion. People are going to internalize. They're going to find their tribe. They're going to say, this is who I am and what I believe. I believe that for the most part, the left identity is opposing the right. That's it. The right often argues among itself. The left doesn't argue among itself the same way. Among the right, you have libertarians, conservatives, post-liberals, disaffected liberals, moderates, etc. Quite an eclectic display of conversations. On the left, the establishment and the far left, they do often fight each other. They don't completely agree. Liberals are anti-gun, leftists are pro-gun. Not all the leftists. They do have their internal fighting. But typically they walk in lockstep with whatever is perceived to be their tribal position or in opposition to the right. Now, the right has done it sometimes, but it typically doesn't. For example, what's going on with kids and these lewd shows, it's not going to lick itself. They're like, oh, it's just ice cream. I'm like, it's innuendo. And they're having kids dance in front of it. I have principles. And that's why I find myself more aligned with the right today than you would say the left in terms of cultural tribe. Although policy-wise, I'm probably center-left. Economically and all that stuff, I believe in reality. This is why post-liberals, disaffected liberals, moderates, conservatives, and libertarians are in the same bracket, the same umbrella. We disagree on basically everything, but we agree on the Constitution. We believe on inalienable rights. We believe in individual liberties, and the other side does not. They believe in collective authority, be it leftist authority or establishment authoritarianism and corporatism. That's where we are. It's not absolute. There are many leftists. Kyle Kalinske, Crystal Ball. They're good. Jimmy Dore, he's great. All that really matters is, do you believe in the truth? Can we have a conversation? And are you acting in good faith? I think what defines the left is that they don't. They turn around and they say the right doesn't act in good faith, and it's certainly true of some people, but it's not indicative of the entirety of what's called the right, unless, of course, they're playing a game where they say, if you agree with certain right-wing policies, you're right-wing, but we're not referring to you as the right wing when you're being reasonable. So when they're talking about the right, they're typically referring to the worst elements of it, QAnon. They're not referring to me, who's a moderate, who thinks Trump is wrong about this stuff. They exclude me from that conversation, but then when I challenge their BS, they say you're right-wing. So this is why moderates and liberals, post-liberals, I should say, have joined up with traditional conservatives and libertarians. Because we want peace, freedom, individual liberties, civil rights, but the left just wants to oppose. They want to form an identity around whatever it is you are not. I'm not convinced this can be de-escalated. The arresting of this guy, maybe it's the right thing to do. No, I mean, for real. The problem is, are they arresting Antifa and the far leftists? They're not. Some Antifa have been arrested in, Seattle and Portland. There were a handful. In San Diego, we saw 11 indictments. I'm not saying it doesn't happen. I'm just saying it tends to be in one direction. People are going to lose their minds because Whitmer, Cuomo, many others, Wolf, Newsom, they killed elderly in nursing homes. Where's the story? A man just tried to assassinate a sitting Supreme Court justice. Where's the headline news? Nope. Yeah, this is worrying to me, man. Seeing this story about the arrest and seeing what Donald Trump said, I'm just like, man, we are close to the precipice. 2024, 2023, who knows, man? I think it's going to get crazier. The Democrats don't have anything. With the economy being as bad as it is, with gas prices being as high as they are, $4.97, we're basically, you round up, you're at $5. Tomorrow, we're going to hit $5. They got nothing but this. So they're going to go out with a bang, I guess. We'll see how it all plays out. Next segment's coming up at 8 p.m. over at youtube.com/TimcastIRL. Thanks for hanging out, and we'll see you all then.